A warm welcome to TV African News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najma Lima, but first are the headlines. Total NGOs in court over oil projects in Uganda and Tanzania. Uganda receives first batch of Ebola trial vaccines. Qatar World Cup had best group stages ever, says FIFA boss. Welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has commenced the implementation of power sector reforms targeting to enhance sector performance and provide affordable power to the people of Uganda. We have more. The move follows the Cabinet Directive of October 3, 2022, and the reforms are expected to minimize expensive private capital in the electricity subsector investments in generation, transmission and distribution. Cabinet, among others, directed the ministry not to renew the concession and privatization agreements for Eskom Uganda Limited and Umeme Limited after their concessions come to their natural end. Eskom is the country's largest energy generator on a 20-year concession effective March 1, 2003 for managing and maintaining the 180 megawatts Nalubale and 200 megawatts Kira hydropower plants, while Umeme is Uganda's main electricity distribution company, holding a 20-year electricity distribution concession from the government of Uganda effective March 1, 2005. The ministry has already formally notified Eskom and Umeme of the government's decision not to renew their concessions agreements when they come to their natural end in March 2023 and March 2025 respectively. The Electricity Regulatory Authority, Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited and Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited have also been directed to make appropriate arrangements for the transition. Honorable Dr. Ruth Nankabira Sentamu, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, appreciated Umeme and Eskom for the years of continued support and investment in Uganda's energy sector, and further noted that the ministry would spearhead the transition process and engage all concerned parties, including the shareholders, to ensure that the government of Uganda's decision to the end concession naturally is executed reasonably. Total Energies, the French group, was summoned before the Paris court on Wednesday by 6 NGOs who accuse it of failing in its duty of vigilance on a mega oil project in Uganda and Tanzania. Friends of the Earth, Survival and For Uganda NGOs accused Total Energies of carrying out this project in defiance of human rights and the environment and called on the group to respect a law passed in 2017 which imposes on multinationals a duty of vigilance on their activities around the world. This legislation obliges them in particular to prevent serious violations of human rights, the health and safety of people and the environment through a vigilance plan. The hearing at the heart of this case, the first brought to justice since the law was voted in 2017, was held before many associative and political actors. It arrives 3 years late due to a procedural battle lost by Total Energies. The 6 NGOs have in their sights 2 colossal sites of the group: Tilenga, a drilling of 419 wells in Uganda, partly located in a natural park, and the East African crude oil pipeline project intended to transport hydrocarbons to the Indian Ocean crossing Tanzania over 1,445 kilometers. The active phase of the works began in February and the commissioning of the project is scheduled for 2025. Moving on, clashes between M23 rebels and the Congolese army have displaced tens of thousands of people in the east of the DRC. Living near the road leading to Goma, the displaced are facing starvation and often have to fight for the scanty rations distributed by the NGOs and the Congolese government.
Thousands of tiny makeshift shelters hug the road leading north out of Goma, a symptom of the vast humanitarian crisis gripping DR Congo's turbulent east. Since late October, many tens of thousands of people have flocked towards the relative safety of the city, fleeing the advance of the M23 rebel group. The most vulnerable have settled near the roadside, packed inside tents cobbled together from sticks and tarpaulin on fields of lava spotted from the looming volcano Mount Nyiragongo. Despite aid efforts, all of the displaced people interviewed by the media complained of hunger and several described having to fight for food. Cholera, a consequence of poor hygiene, has also broken out. 80% of the displaced people in Kanyaruchinya are Congolese Hutus from the Rushuru area of North Kivu, Musekura estimated.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. South Sudan's ruling party has endorsed President Kiir as its candidate for another term in the country's delayed election set for the end of 2024. Kiir has been the country's only president since it gained independence from Sudan in 2011. Speaking at the end of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement's leadership session late Tuesday, Kiir accepted the ruling party endorsement for the 2024 election. The president said to cheers that they have passed through a difficult situation, but they come out and stood together, adding that he has never failed the people before and believes that they will fight together whatever battles that are coming. There have been no other declared candidates for president in 2024, but longtime Kiir rival and former rebel leader Riek Machar is expected to run. Machar is now one of the country's vice presidents. Machar walked away from the mainstream ruling party in late 2013 following bitter disagreements causing a split in the army that sparked the civil war. Away from that, the secretary of the Bar Association in Chad announced that lawyers would appeal the prosecution of the October 20th demonstrators, which sentenced 262 people out of 401 arrested following deadly protests in October.
According to Colmem Najiro, secretary of the Bar Association of Chad, the victims were deported. Now they have been convicted, while some have been released, a thing which human rights defenders as the bar are criticizing and therefore appealed. Around 50 people, including 10 members of the security forces, died when police opened fire on demonstrators in the capital Jamena and several other cities on October 20th, according to an official toll. Opposition groups denounced the official numbers and say the real count was much higher, alleging unarmed civilians were massacred. The protests had been called to mark the date when Chad's ruling military had initially promised to cede power, a timeline that has now been extended by 2 years. Strongman General Mahamat Idris Deby Itno accused the demonstrators of insurrection and attempting to stage a coup.
Moving on, South African government has announced that the killer of anti-apartheid activist Chris Hani has been released from prison after being stabbed in prison in the wake of controversial parole announcement. Let's take a look. At the end of November, the highest court in the country granted early release to Janus Walus, 69, after some 30 years behind bars. Sentenced to death and then life imprisonment, this Polish immigrant linked to the white Afrikaner far-right was due to be released from prison within 10 days. The prison services explained that Walus was only released from the hospital as he was undergoing treatment after being stabbed, adding that there is no doubt that the convict is a polarizing figure in the country. He was stabbed on November 29th by another inmate in the Pretoria prison where he was serving his sentence. The announcement of his release awakened painful memories in South Africa. A demonstration in Pretoria called by the Communist Party and the ANC brought together several hundred people last week. Chris Han, 50, a senior member of the ANC's armed wing, was killed on April 10, 1993, at a time of delicate negotiations with the white government for the first democratic elections. His violent death escalated racial tensions and provoked violent riots. Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, the government in Burkina Faso has granted a license to a Russian mining company, No Gold, to operate a new gold mine. The Russian company already operates 3 gold mines in the north of the country.
According to Burkina Faso government, the operating permit is for a period of 4 years in an area situated in the northern central region. Both sites have been plagued by jihadist violence since 2015, perpetrated by movements affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. Burkina Faso's 17 industrial mines produce around 70 tons of gold per year. Gold production has replaced cotton as the leading export product. Moscow enjoys growing popular support in Burkina Faso, while France, the former colonial power, is vilified. Since the September 30th coup that brought Captain Ibrahim Traoré to power, Burkinabés have repeatedly demonstrated waving flags of Russia, a country which they want their new leaders to intensify relations.
In our health news today, a shipment of Ebola vaccine candidates to be used in a clinical trial has arrived in Uganda. Health Minister Jane Ruth Acheng and the World Health Organization Uganda Incident Manager attended a ceremony to receive the doses on Thursday, 8th December 2022 at Entebbe International Airport. We have more on this report. Even though the outbreak is seemingly waning with no new cases reported recently, the Health Minister Jane Ruth Acheng remained cautious and said that according to World Health Organization criteria, an Ebola outbreak ends when there are no new cases for 42 consecutive days. There are currently no licensed vaccines for the Sudan strain of the virus. The first batch of one of the 3 candidate vaccines will therefore be evaluated during that Tokomeza Ebola clinical trial. The World Health Organization Incident Manager and Doctor of Epidemiology Charles Njuguna said that the 1,200 doses that the country received yesterday have been manufactured by the Sabin Vaccine Institute in the United States. Charles Njuguna added that they will be administered to those at the greatest risk, who are the immediate contacts contacts of a person who has been diagnosed with the Sudan virus disease. Since the outbreak was declared on September 20th, 56 people died. According to statistics compiled by Uganda's Ministry of Health, 142 cases were confirmed since the outbreak was declared on September 20th. 56 people died, 86 people recovered from the hemorrhagic fever. And finally, with our sports news today, the 2022 World Cup has brought the traditional share of strong emotions and footage of supporters from different nationalities coming together to celebrate unprecedented feats at the biggest football tournaments. We have more on this report.
FIFA President Infantino praised the group and historic knockout phase joyfully, saying that this has been the best group stage of a World Cup ever. He added that the matches have been great quality in beautiful stadiums, as well as the public who are incredible. Infantino said that for the first time as well, national teams from all continents went to the knockout phase for the first time in history, which shows that football is really becoming truly global. Festivals in Qatar have gathered fans from all over the world, and the different fan zones were very crowded. Speaking in Qatar on Wednesday, Infantino looked ahead to the final phase of the World Cup campaign.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.